The Australian Ghost Whisperer with Caterina and James Jennings. Hi everyone, welcome to the Australian Ghost Whisperer. Hello Katarina.
Hi James and hi everybody. Welcome back. Hope you've all had a great week.
Indeed. We're in different locations this week. Kat's at home, I'm at home. And if you're watching the video of this particular podcast, you might see that we have a special guest this week, who is Dene. Dene, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Dean Huntley. I'm a kinesiologist and I operate out of the Southern Shire area. I have a business that is Dean Huntley Holistics. So there's my little shameless plug. Look me up if you're interested.
It's wonderful. Love to have people like you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Plug away, my friend. So Dean, let's get into it. So I want to know where this all began. So obviously you have experienced something quite supernatural, and it led you towards Katarina's business. I want to take things way back to the beginning so you can tell us what happened, what started happening, which made you go, hang on a minute, something's not right, something paranormal's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are we now? This probably began about 2 months ago, just over 2 months ago. So it's been short and sharp and very interesting, to say the least. So I, at the start of July, went to go and house sit for a friend. And she went off over to the UK and Europe for about a month. Now, the deal was that two of us house sit. So I house sit and look after a cat for the first 2 weeks. And then another one of her friends, which I know as well, looks after the house and the cat for the next 2 weeks or the last 2 weeks. So it was like a mini vacation. I was like, yeah, cool. Why not? Let's go for it. Have a bit of fun. Now, I had known before that this particular house was suspected to have hauntings or things or something in there, bad energy. We weren't too quite sure, at least I wasn't told the full details until I found out quite a lot after. But at the time,
they left that out before you did the house sitting. Very, very convenient detail.
Well, she went a little bit further and I was like, look, there's nothing here. It's all good. Nothing's been happening. I'm like, okay, cool, great, no worries. Okay. So there you go, going in thinking nothing's going to happen. And the first weekend, and I'll include this detail because it's quite curious how it started. First weekend, I was actually at a fair out at Manly, just doing my tarot and kinesiology, right? So traveling back all the way back down to the Southern Shire area and house sat. Now I was looking after the cat, and the very first night, got in the bed and was fine. It was a bit of a strange bed, strange mattress because it was a temper mattress. So it kind of like sucked you in, that kind of strange feeling, right? So I was a bit unsure about that because I've got like a little, koala mattress, so it's nice and firm and all of that. But this kind of, you literally sink into it and then it immobilizes you.
That's not
a strange thing. Yeah, it was really weird initially. I was like, this is okay, whatever, I'll get used to it. It's only 2 weeks. And so that night I get back, feed the cat, do all the necessary, get into bed and start going to sleep. And suddenly I start hearing the cat scratching around, just playing around outside. I can't close the door because if I do, he'll scratch on the door and then annoy me even more. So of course, all right, fine, sure, whatever, let's do that. And then about 3 a.m. when I'm kind of just about to fall asleep because the cat stopped. Smash, huge, big smash. I'm like, what the hell is that? Jump up, I look outside. The cat has been doing zoomies in the dark around the living room and has knocked over a mirror. Now this mirror is in the corner. It's not against the wall. It's leaning against the wall. It's not on a wall, but it's leaning against the wall in a corner behind a massive crystal geode and next to a TV kind of cabinet. So how it got in there and knocked it out, it must have nicked it somehow, and the whole thing just went and fell over, shattered everywhere. Really annoying. yelled at the cat, of course. It got really scared and pissed off around the corner and cleaned it all up. And that was my night. Oh my God, okay. Went back to the fair and just kept going, right? So fair's done that weekend, come back. I'm like, okay, cool. It's all over. Great. Let's get to know the cat a bit better. Because I really hadn't had any time to do that, right? So I was getting to know the cat, la 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 la, having fun, playing with it, all of that, doing all the things. It's showing me its back. It's, changing things. And there you go. There's some lights going off at the moment.
Yeah.
And
Oh man.
yeah, it does that a bit. They come around and visit from time to time.
You do have a few visitors there. Yeah, I
Oh
can see
yeah,
that.
this one particularly. But sometimes if I just do a little tweaky bit there, you can reset that so it's a little bit better. Thanks, guys. Okay, so got to know the cat. It was all good fun. And a few mornings I would kind of wake up with it on the bed, making biscuits, as the saying goes, right? So be at the end at your feet and be kind of like doing this. And I'm like, oh, okay, hey, Phoenix, thanks. All right, no worries. And I'm like, cool, great. Think nothing of it. Next night, kind of jumps on again, starts doing that. I'm like, oh, it's a bit strange feeling. And I look up and, oh, the cat's not there. Oh, okay, whatever. Roll over. And kind of something starts playing with my feet again. And I'm like, I move my feet, kick them around a bit, and it stops. I'm like, okay, whatever. Go back to sleep. Next night, again, get in the bed. All right, cool. There I am, moving around. And this continues for about a week, okay? It's constantly like, I look up, no cat. No cat there. That's strange. It must be the temper mattress. That's what I'm thinking to myself, right? It sucked me in. And when my pulse, because I have a pretty strong pulse generally, when it beats and the pulse goes through and like I'm imagining the whole mattress kind of goes, like that's what I'm thinking, right? No clue. Absolutely completely clueless. There's no other signs in the place. Nothing's flickering off and on, and none of these things. So I'm just like, whatever. And then I get to the end of the 2 weeks, and of course, in between all of this, the cat's playing outside. I'm attempting to try and sleep. It's doing all its night activities, whatever. So I get to the end. I get to the changeover period where this other friend is going to come and take over for the next 2 weeks, and she comes in. I run her through the place, like do this, do that, blah 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 blah, and then we go outside, see her off, and then we kind of, as you do, you just start chatting about life and things. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a bit strange. Like she's got this strange temper mattress, and it just kind of like sucks you in. And I feel like it moves, but it's only moves around like my feet, which is really weird. Like only around my feet and my knees kind of thing. And she's like, oh, that's not the mattress. That's one of the entities that's still around. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? She's like, it's fine. Like it doesn't follow anyone. It doesn't live. Like you're all good. It's just harmless. I'm like, okay. And heart rate spikes, adrenaline starts pumping. I'm like, holy shit, what is happening here? So of course, heightened awareness. Go back to bed. Get into bed. Oh my God, it's playing with my feet. Jesus Christ, what is
Back at your house?
No. Still at their house.
At their house, okay.
Okay, still at their house. Playing with my feet, playing with my feet. And this is where, because now I have the awareness, I look up and there's nothing there. Nothing there. The bed's not even moving. I can still feel it. This is the weird thing about it, right? This is the weird thing of this energy. I was like, oh, this is really disconcerting, really creepy. Are you sure? Maybe it's not the cat. Maybe it is the cat. I don't know. And then, of course, I hear the cat scratching outside at like 3 a.m. And I'm like, okay, it's definitely not the cat. Yep, that's something that's definitely playing with my feet. Okay. Now, a bit of context for what happened at this point, because I was going into the end of a kinesiology course that I was doing, and we had like a solid 3 weeks of that coming up. So for myself, I was like, okay, I'm sleep deprived. The cat's driving me crazy. This ghosty is driving me crazy. I'm just going to bail a day early and go home and have a really great sleep in my nice, comfortable, secure, safe bed. It's going to be great, guys. So much fun. Oh, good Lord. Okay. So left, went to bed that night, and it started again on my feet. And I'm like, this can't be it. No, there's no way. They told me it doesn't follow people. It doesn't follow people. This can't happen. I was thinking maybe this is psychosomatic. Maybe this is me like just being overly kind of panicky and in a little bit of kind of distress and shock and all of that. Like, oh, what's happening? Heartbeats going through the roof, everything, right? Everything is pounding. Like, oh my God. And I eventually fall asleep. Now, the just to give everyone an idea of what this thing actually did, it would basically start the minute I'd get into bed, start at my feet, start moving around my feet. And what it felt like was as if a person was literally straddling between your feet and was just doing this, that, literally all that. That's all it was doing. And then when you shuffle over, or even if you'd move your feet, it would stop and then start again. And then you'd shift onto one side, you land to one side, and it would move up to like your knees and just start pressing into, like it's full body weight, like someone's fully standing there, just pressing down there, and then would stop and would shift over and would kind of shift around your butt basically, and would be shifting and shifting and shifting and shifting and moving around and shifting. And it would do this like a few times, then stop, then a few times more, then stop, and a few times more and stop, and probably for about maybe half an hour, and then it would just completely stop. And by that time, usually either I've fallen asleep or it's just lost interest or whatever. And then either I'd wake up around 3ish in the morning. Katarina will know why. Lots of reasons for that time of the day. But anyway, I would wake up at that time and it would start again.
Oh,
and
what
it's moving again and moving again. And then, oh my God. And
Oh,
so
no.
it was very disconcerting, very kind of worrying as well, because you just didn't know what the hell this thing was doing. Like, why is it doing this? So for about 2 months, even during the course I was going through, I was surrounded by a bunch of kinesiologists, so they were very supportive, very kind of helpful in the way that they were able to help, which was kind of balancing me from a kinesiology standpoint. But obviously this was not a kinesiology issue, this was a spirit issue. So of course I reached out and asked for a few people. I was given the numbers of a number of people, including Caterina's. And the first lady off that list, I was a psychic medium who performed spirit rescues. I talked to her, told the situation, and she basically attempted to do the first spirit rescue, but nothing seemed to happen. She said it was gone, but something didn't feel right, and it just seemed like, nope, it hasn't happened. It's still there. Checked it again, did another one, still didn't go. And now she was doing this from distance, I might add. She wasn't yet ready to see people in person, and that's her reasons. But I was like, okay, that's not gonna work at all. Now, in between all of this, I was taking advice from people who didn't really know what they were doing or talking about. And a lot of it was old fishwives' tales and stuff of that nature, like, putting pins and lemons next to your bed. Or now that's an interesting one, actually, which is really curious. So pins and lemons, yeah, it's a
I
weird
haven't
one.
heard that one.
Yeah, it's a strange one. It's a curious. So it's not for spirits, it's for negative energy. That's the idea.
Wow.
And so you take a lemon, sorry, and you take a pin and you think of whatever it is, the person or object or whatever is causing negative energy, you stab it, and then you put it next to your bed. Yep, literally it's a thing. And you leave it there for about, I think it's 2-3 weeks. And it's really interesting. I did that because I was like, fuck, I'm just going to try everything at this point. I don't know what the hell's going to work, whatever. Stabbed it, put it all in. I put 3 pins in, right? And I only thought of one of the pins for this entity. Put next to the bed. Now, what's bizarre is only around that single pin, it went black. I've got the photos to prove it as well, because I was like, that's just weird. Yeah. So strange. Didn't do anything else besides that. Okay, weird. So that was a bust. I tried putting salt into water into a glass next to my bed for 40 days. Didn't do anything either. I even went so far as to put salt around the base of my bed, as like, you see in Supernatural and all of that. Circle of salt protects you. Didn't do shit as well. I used.
Very creative methods.
Oh yeah,
Very creative.
I was trying them all. I was just like, why not? Let's give this a go. I used chimes like this, a bar chime,
Mhm.
very high pitch. I won't play it because speakers probably won't be able to pick it up. I used singing bowls. I used incense. I used sage the shit out of the place. I used practically all the conventional means of clearing things. And then eventually and this was before, I might add, I contacted the first medium. And so eventually she got to the point where she's like, I can't really help you, but maybe you need to reach out to someone else. And I was like, okay, next person on the list, which was Kat. I was like, all right. Had a look at the website. I was like,
But she wasn't the first person on the list.
well, yeah, it was interesting. This is just from a Reiki master who gave it to me, the details.
Okay.
So I was just like, okay, got nothing to lose. Let's go. Let's give it a go. So yeah, I looked her up on the website and was like, ooh, all right, a few exorcisms. Okay, this might be something. And messaged her and said, hey, I've got a strange one for you. Told her the situation, and yeah, kind of went in, and the rest is history. So it's been a very unique and very interesting ride. But I did find out potentially one of the reasons why it did happen. Now, I myself am writing a little book about like an introduction to spiritualism, shall we say, or the spirit world, or people going through spiritual awakenings. And part of in that, it's about I said to myself, and this is a little be careful what you wish for kind of moment, shall we say, where I kind of said to myself, I would really like to experience something, so I knew what to write about. So I could write about it from a first-hand point of view. Well, hot damn. So yeah, be very, very careful what you wish for, everyone. But yes, very curious that it followed, which is very interesting. Very curious it didn't do anything else. I had many people, many psychics tell me that it was a male energy. It was a demented male energy, is what one person said. Another person said it was a mentally insane person who had passed. Another person said it was karmically tied to the owner of the place that I was house sitting. Another person said that that particular bedroom has a portal in it, and that multiple things can come through, but that portal had been able to been closed, or at least the 4 out of 5 entities in that house had apparently been removed through a transference healing session. But that single one entity, which latched onto me, was the only one left. Now, I haven't contacted the former owner or the owner of the place yet to see if anything's still there for her. But I might do that when I've got some free time coming up. So that's the crazy story. Questions, please.
Well, I want to ask Katarina. So when Dean came in to see you, Katarina, I want to now get it from your perspective. So Dean's called you up. He's told you the problem. When he came to see you, what did you see? Because obviously you can see into the spirit world in a way that most people can't. What did you see? What did you sense?
So by the time Dean had gotten to me, because he tried so many things, obviously the entity, because entities will absorb your energy. We become like a battery for them because they need our energy. They plug in and they need our energy to continue to survive in this physical realm. So by the time Dean got to me, Dean had absorbed that entity. So the entity and him were like one. They were quite connected. It had moved in and it had connected to all of his chakra system. And it was, pretty much looking to either, had Dean not gotten to me, to perhaps do a takeover of him. And what an entity can actually do, because it was quite a strong dark entity, and I don't believe it was a human form. It was a demonic entity. It would have eventually looked to have pushed out Dean's soul and moved into the body. So what happens then, he would have become sort of half possessed. There you would have gotten half a Dean being possessed, controlled by a demonic entity. So Donna was there that day too. So we needed to use a few things, because like I realized, and I didn't want to scare him, but I laid him on my bed and I thought, we need to get rid of this like ASAP. So I used a combination of hypnotherapy first to actually get Dean's unconscious mind to step up and help with releasing it, because the unconscious mind understands that our unconscious mind firstly always has our back. So with using hypnotherapy, I was able to get the unconscious mind to cooperate in expelling this demonic entity. So that's the first thing I used, and took Dean into a nice relaxed state and gave instructions to his unconscious mind that we needed to expel this entity. And once I did that, Donna was there too that day, so we began to channel energy.
Just to interrupt for a sec, Kat. So people who are listening or watching may not be aware who Donna is. Donna is...
she does the light frequency. She does the sound frequency. So she uses all the crystal bowls, and so she was often there.
You guys work together a lot.
Yeah, we do. We work together quite a bit, and she loves all this stuff. So we were both, because again of the extreme situation with Dean, we both began channeling healing energy into him, and I got Dean to breathe and to relax, and finally it expelled. We got it out and we sort of sent it off on its way, and then Donna used some of her frequency bowls to help just align his body, align the chakras, get his frequency up again. And I continued just healing. Obviously, he needed, because he was so exhausted from the whole trial of what he'd been through, and his energy was completely depleted. So I continued to channel the healing energy to kind of boost his energy, also to restore some of that leaking energy that was, because it had been kind of drawing at his life force for so long. So needed to kind of work with the damage that entity had done, because I think it was almost 3 months, wasn't it, Dean, by the time you got to me? So it had time to put cracks in his energy field, to kind of, draw energy out of the chakra system. So I had to repair all of that work, whilst Donna did the beautiful frequency bowls, which helped Dean to go into a nice journey and relax and reconnect with himself. So that's the methods we used. We needed to use 1, 2, 3 different methods in order to get the result.
Amazing. Yeah. So what do you think, Kat, was happening at the house that Dean was house sitting?
Look, obviously this house honestly needs a good clearing. And I think, I find it quite bizarre when people tell me that they've gotten a house clearing done, but there's still an entity roaming around, or it's not finished. They've only done part of it. To me, if you're going to go in and clear a house, if you're somebody that you are have the knowledge. I don't understand why these people, mediums or healers, go into a house and only half do a job. To me, you shouldn't be doing it. I'm sorry, because this is the result of what happens. Things get out of hand. People can become possessed by these types of entities, and and literally lose their mind. So if you're going to go out there and do house clearings, you have to do it all the way. You've got to be able to shut all the portals. You've got to be able to cross over lost souls. clear and banish entities from a home. And at the end, when you're finished, that home should feel lovely and peaceful and calm. There shouldn't be anything left.
Yeah.
And I find it really bizarre that I hear this time and time again from clients or new people who come to me who say, oh, they did this, but there was still a spirit roaming around. In the case of Dene, there was still a demonic entity. So how anybody can go in and clear a home and then still leave a demonic entity is just, I just don't know. So I think that there's too many people in this paranormal movement who are not doing their work properly. Now, had more and more time gone on for Dene, he would have got to a point where we could not remove it. And I've had cases like that, many cases over 30 years of doing this work, where they have been possessed by an entity for so long that you just can't remove it. It's completely kind of taken over. And pretty much people from that need to pretty much then end up in a psychiatric hospital, psychiatric drugs. There's nothing more that can be done. So that would have been the direction. And as you see, Dene is a lovely young man, very spiritual, very well equipped with a wonderful future ahead of him, to have ended up in a situation as he was.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you one thing. An interesting fact is that house, the lady who is living there, she dealt with this thing for an entire year of it dancing around her feet.
Yeah, I know. And she hadn't told you? She hadn't made you aware?
I knew there was potentially something there, but she said, "Oh, it's fine now. Everything there hasn't been anything." Da 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 da. I'm like, okay, all right, sure.
Yeah, but she's lucky she didn't get possessed by it.
Well,
really.
Yeah, the fact that she's been dealing with it for an entire year is.
It's a long time, and that's the thing with entities. It's really, they will attach and they will draw out your life force, and it will make you very sick emotionally, spiritually, physically.
So actually, Kat, you mentioned that the demon had kind of been chipping away at Dene's energy and he created energy leaks.
Connecting to each of his chakras, apart from the heart.
Right.
Which was because of the evolution of Dene, because he is quite a spiritual person.
Right.
But had done a great job of really aligning to Dene's energy.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious, is there a way to actually protect yourself from that kind of thing? Like how can someone protect themselves from that kind of attack?
I think with something like that, leave the home. You can't. Really, when you're dealing with something demonic, this isn't just a spirit. This is something demonic. And they can be very strong.
Did you see it? Could you see what it looked like, Kat? Can you describe it?
Yes, he was expelling it. Yeah, it smelled. It had a bad smell to it. It was like that smell of gutter sewage. That's what demons smell like. Smelled them before.
Oh.
And it was just this dark, ugly thing. It became abolished by the light, but
good.
Yeah. But when Dene came in, I could see it was like he had this sort of dark cloud around him.
Did you feel that, Dene? Did you feel like there was a bit of a dark cloud following you around?
There was definitely a sense that there was something around. Like I wasn't alone. It definitely felt.
No,
it was a different type of, like, I don't know if you've ever felt before, but if you kind of know when your people are around, you kind of know that feeling, to say the least. Your spirit guides. You kind of have that sense of, okay, they're there, they're backing me. But this was something different. This was like an ever-present kind of almost foreboding, which is very curious. And I'll add to the point about the heart energy. A few times when I was in bed and it was kind of attacking me, I would, and what's interesting as well, it would never go above my hips, never go any higher, which was very curious, I found. And I kind of put that down to my heart energy, or at least the energy around my heart. And when I would purposely visualize kind of the energy around my heart expanding, it actually would stop. So it would stop dancing around for a little bit. But of course, that would require me to constantly keep expanding. And that's very tiresome and exhausting.
Of course.
And there were some interesting moments where early on in the piece, where I could, when I was expanding, I could actually almost feel it. And that's hard to describe, obviously, from an energy standpoint, but it felt as though it was pushing up against the barrier of that heart energy, which is very interesting to feel. But again, you are constantly pushing and pushing and pushing, and it just wears you down.
Because the heart chakra is the most powerful chakra. We have this incredible scalar energy that comes from our hearts. And when we are in our hearts, yes, we produce this amazing, shield of protection around ourselves. So it would have started trying to shut down your heart. And that's when it would have then been able to take, 80% control of you. And what saved you was the fact that you are quite spiritual and so evolved that it really had a hard time with closing down your heart.
Yep. Wasn't going to give you satisfaction.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's really wild. And again, I'm always amazed that Katarina has done this so many times now, where it's just like, oh yeah, saw a demon, expelled the demon. Like it's to the average, so casually.
Well, look, I was trained by spirit. I didn't go and do courses or anything. I was taught directly by my own guides how to deal with these topics. It wasn't something I left school and said I wanted to do, of course. But I get a lot of satisfaction because it's help that they're not going to get anywhere. I've always had so many other healers, to which I'm grateful for, who have been sensible enough to send me clients that had things like this going on with them, because they knew it wasn't, they didn't have the skill to remove these types of things. So I have always over the years had a lot of healers refer people like in Dene's situation to me. But I really enjoy it because I kind of know I'm very protected. I'm confident. I've got my spirit family around me that always help me. And, and it's also about keeping the person safe and expelling that entity as fast as possible. And you've got to get it right first time. I couldn't have half done a job and then said to Dene, well, come back next week, we'll give it another try. Come back. Once you go for it, to me, it's, if I'm going to take it on and do it, then it's got to be done.
Got to be done the right way.
You can't because it's more suffering for the person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I always say to people, you can smudge as much as you want. He could have smudged and gone through 100, smudge sticks. They don't care. They don't give. They're scared of a bit of smoke, or they don't care. Yeah. They don't care about a lemon and all these, or even they don't even really care too much about holy water. They don't care. The only thing that you're going to do to remove it is you've got to fill that person with so much light that the frequency of that person that is having the issue is so heightened that entity, because it's such low frequency, cannot feel comfortable in that type of environment anymore. And that is the only way you're going to expel it. It has to be done energetically. You've got to get the frequency up. You've got to contain high frequency in the room that you're doing that work in. Because when we started, I don't know if you remembered it, but the room turned really cold because it
Mm.
started to kind of, claw up.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, what the hell? So they will kind of come for you and turn everything really cold and try to scare you and try to I'm not leaving. I've had people even where the entity has used that person's voice box to talk and tell me off and call me all kinds of names.
Wow.
Be called many a thing. But yeah, you just got to stay focused, and the more light you begin to channel, then it loses its strength, its power over the person. And then it has no choice but to go.
Well,
So it will still take Dene a few weeks to get his energy levels up high.
Yeah.
It's still going to take him a good 3. You don't just heal from these things. You heal, yes, as far as the demon, but psychologically what it does, people will still go to bed and be scared and go, has it really gone? Is it really gone? And then the mind can play tricks. The body needs to heal. The energy needs to heal. So, that's what we say. Lots of sunshine, get out in nature, try to remain really grounded and give yourself a good 3 weeks to heal. You had it for 3 months. You're going to need 3 good weeks to really heal and get your energy up and feel good again and get that programming, because that's the hardest part,
absolutely.
that programming of, the mind's taken on this pattern because it's something different. And being able to let go, it has a really quite a big psychological effect on a person.
Very much so.
It's very fearful. Yeah, of course. And when I got into this work because that had been done to me.
Oh,
yeah, that's how I came to go and get into this work.
Oh,
I had a very nasty mother-in-law who did a lot of black magic to me. Eventually I became possessed by this demonic entity. I was very young, and I remember, like Dene, going from person to person to person, to the priest, to church, to everything that I could think of. And, some people would say, oh, you're crazy, it's in your head. And it was terrible. And I fought it because I had a gift. I fought it until one night, one day somebody pointed me in the direction of a woman out in Toongabbie. And she used to hold these circles every Friday night, and people would go that had entities attached to them. And so I went this Friday night, and she saw straight away that it had all this black magic and done to me. And I remember laying on the healing bed, and she had a little group of other little healers there with her. She started praying over me, and I remember just yelling, like screaming this thing out of me. And then it was the biggest turning point of my life. I just it took me a long time to heal from that. But she said to me, she says, you have a wonderful gift. She said, stay with us and learn. And, and that's how, between her and my guides teaching me, that's how I came to do this work. Otherwise, I wasn't planning on going out there and doing this at all. I loved doing readings and doing some healings, but not kind of full-on exorcisms. So that's how so I know what it feels like. That's why I get very annoyed when I feel really sad for people when they come to me and say, I've gone here, I've gone there. And it's like, I think if you're going to be a healer, really be truthful about what you can take on and can't. And if it's out of your field, there's no shame in that.
That's right.
It's cool. Just say, look, it's not in my league. I can't help you, rather than, adding more grief, more pain to somebody who's searching, because I went through all that. And it's not nice. And you lay awake at night and you can't sleep. You become sleep deprived. You feel like you're going mad, and nobody seems to understand
So,
that you're not going mad.
Exactly. Dad, my story, like a lot of your story, is similar to things that have happened to me. And
Uh,
in in the same way, I was living in a place that was very haunted, and I found someone who came over. Katarina knows this story.
Yeah.
Someone came over. They did a bit of spray around the house. Oh, it's all gone now. It's all gone. And then for like 3 days, nothing happened. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it all just kicks back. It just ramped
mm,
up again.
yeah.
But luckily for me, my second port of call was Katerina. So I
Good.
only had one charlatan to deal with before I got to Katerina.
Nice.
And yeah, the difference between someone who doesn't know what they're doing and it's just like, oh, you'll be right now. And it's like, really? Because it's still happening. And in fact, it's probably a little bit worse. And
Yeah.
then Katerina came
Yeah,
in and
exactly.
the problem was gone and stayed gone.
Nice.
Yeah,
When I
and
was
that's how, yeah, it has to be. That's what
Mm,
I'm saying. Otherwise, don't do it. And I think that
right.
there's just this influx now of, healers and masters and shamans and all these
Yeah.
wonderful, weird and wonderful names. But do you really have it in you to go and take this
That's
work
right.
on? Like you got to
Mm,
really want to do this. You've got to really know what you're doing. And you cannot have one bit of doubt or fear.
Hmm.
absolutely.
You just cannot, because they will have a field day with you.
Mm,
You have to hold that space no matter what. And like I said, I've had entities call me names and scream. The person's been lying on the bed, screaming and carrying on. I mean, I had to literally sit on somebody once to hold them down. But you just can't.
wow.
You just do what you got to do, and you stay focused. You've gone into a battlefield, because if you show any fear, they will unleash. And don't forget, demons have their own demonic realms, and they will unleash that onto you. If you start being doubtful, you don't know how to keep your space enclosed, they will unleash, more will come, and don't have to be in that position. That's what happens. That's why I always say, I've had lots of people like Dean come to me, and it's like, oh, I've been through this person or that. No,
Yeah.
it's just really sad. I think,
But we got there in the end. That was
we
good.
did. And, and yeah, we did. We
We
did.
You're,
And
did.
that's
you're
what's
looking good,
important.
Dean. You're looking bright and happy. So
Yeah.
Thanks.
made you feel better.
Very much so it did. Yeah. It
Yeah, and
was it
he's
was a
such a
welcome
positive,
relief.
wonderful soul, and I think that's, Dean, what really held you together through those
Yeah.
3 months, is that you are such a positive and quite a spiritual person yourself.
Well, I always knew it wasn't going to be
Mm,
forever. And I always knew there was a solution to it. It's
mm,
just a matter of finding the
yeah,
solution. So it wasn't oh God, there's no hope. It was more of
no, you were,
right, what's next? What can I try next? I kind of took a bit of a pragmatic perspective to the whole thing. I was like, all right,
mm,
this sucks. What can I do next? Who's
yeah,
next? What is this? Right, that hasn't worked. Okay, let's try
what's
this
next?
person. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm very grateful that you were the second port of call.
No,
Um,
I'm great. I'm really happy that we got rid of it,
thank you.
because I
Yeah,
think you have a great future ahead of you with your work, and
thank
I
you very
think you're
much.
going to do lots of, you might end up being an
Could
exorcist
be.
yourself one
You
day.
never know.
Could always come and learn.
That's right.
I'm happy to teach.
You're in an exorcism school. Sign up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
right.
could, eh? Maybe that's what's next for me in my career, an
Could be. That's
exorcism
pretty cool.
school. Be great, I think there are. I think if you're a strong healer and you're not scared, I think that,
Yeah.
you don't have fear, then I think you're a good candidate.
Mm, definitely. Yeah.
Been recruited, Dean. So,
Apparently
You've been
so.
recruited. Let him recover a bit longer.
Give me some time first, guys.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Dean, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Really interesting. There's been thrills, chills, and happy that it's got a happy ending and it's gone. Thank God.
Me too. Absolutely. And thank you for having me, guys.
God, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Dean, for coming on and sharing your story. It
You're
helps
welcome.
others that are on the search
Yes,
that need
absolutely.
help. So thank you, Dean. It's more why we do this,
Mm,
just to reach out if there are other people who need help.
that's right. It's
Yeah.
good to give people hope.
Yeah, never lose hope and never lose faith. That's the two important things.
Absolutely. And I think that's a poignant note to end the episode on. So thank you very much, Dean. Thank you, Katerina. And if you're listening or watching, please remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of good stuff. And if you have your own story about, paranormal, supernatural bumps in the night or whatever, feel free to get in touch with us. You can find us on social media. Maybe you have a story you want to share with people as well. So on that note, thank you again, Dean. And Kat, I'll see you again next week.
See you next week. Thank you, Dean. And thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. To gain access to private spiritual development classes, guided meditations, and live Q&As with Katarina, please visit www.patreon, that's patreon.com/The Australian Ghost Whisperer.